So, hello and welcome to another Peace Project interview, everybody. I am joined today by a Consultant Numerologist Jane Alton. Hi, Jane.
Hello.
Now, you and we go back quite a few years, don't we? And not through numerology. We've actually met through mutual Reiki connections.
Yeah, Reiki's wonderful. Like a lot of people, Reiki was, I went basically, it was my Reiki master who said, you're here as a numerologist, go and do this course sort of thing. I know quite a few people who did Reiki and then went on to do, have quite, go on to do all sorts of things they didn't do before sort of thing. It seems to open your world up, which is wonderful.
Yeah. And where are you calling in from today, Jane?
From my home, Paddockwood.
So you're Kent, aren't you?
I'm Kent, yeah.
Yeah. So in the southeast of England, and I asked because obviously we have a global audience here inside the Peace.
Oh right, oh lovely. Hello everyone.
We just welcomed our 401st Peace Project from Uganda.
So, oh, Uganda, excellent.
And genuinely we do we welcome.
It's wonderful. I grew up in Africa actually.
You did?
Yeah, I was in Sudan. Basically South African Sudan a long time ago now. Yeah.
So tell me, let's first explain why you're qualified to talk about numbers today. I know you had a career in like accounting, so you've been working with numbers for a long time. Yeah. But what happened?
Well, it wasn't quite accounting. I was an investment performance analyst for 15 years. I was doing things like fund manager bonuses and stuff. And then I was then I was a business analyst for 10. So basically for 25 years, I sort of analysed numbers. I just love analysis. I mean, my husband and my children are engineers and scientists and stuff. They're very much into problem solving. I love analysis, and so I go around and they go to the heart of the problem. I go round and round. Anyway, yes, so I've always analysed numbers. I just love numbers. It was when my daughter was born. It was it's the hardest time in my life, actually. I started practicing Buddhism. It was a very difficult time, and with Buddhism, we very much believe you make a shift on the inside and everything will change, and that is 1,000,000% my experience, and I still practice Buddhism. And the Buddhism led to me doing Reiki, and that led to me doing numerology, basically. So when I was in corporate world, I was actually doing quite a lot of numerology. I did, I think, about 1,000 people's numbers when I was in corporate world. And then I was made redundant, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was wonderful. I basically, that was it. I went from, basically I had children, and I just didn't want to, I've always loved analysis, but I just didn't want to be in the office anymore. I wanted to be home. And being made redundant was the best thing ever for me. I just never looked back. I started working from home, doing what I'm passionate about. So I'm still analysing numbers, but in a completely different way. From a date of birth and a name at birth, there's a myriad of information. There's so many numbers generated. And it's just, analysing in a different way. Everything evolves in cycles. Everything comes down to vibration. And it's just a wonderful way of looking at things in a completely different way. No moralizing, no preaching, just, this is what it is. You can, literally everything evolves in cycles. I mean, when we're asleep, our heart still pumps, our, organs still function, etc. And on a planetary level, everything is in a constant state of flux as well. And there's certain cycles evolving. And we're part of that. We're part of that pattern. The theory with numerology is that we're born into a unique set of circumstances, tailor-made for us to learn what we need to learn to complete what we're here to do. So when we know what we're here to do, it can explain why certain situations come up or why certain people are in our world. And the universe wants us to complete what we're here to do. When we know what we're here to do, it can explain, as I said, why certain situations keep coming up or why certain people are in our world. It's an opportunity to look at things in a completely different way. If that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
It ties in with Buddhism a bit. It's quite empowering.
Yeah. So a question I'm going to guess you get asked a lot is, what's the difference between numerology and astrology?
They're both ancient wisdoms. I mean, the father of modern numerology is Pythagoras, and that's like 600 years before Christ. And I believe astrology is they're both ancient wisdoms. They go back a long way. A lot of people believe numbers came before words, and it's all about movement, cycles, that the planets move in cycles. And obviously numbers, basically the 1 to 9 applies to every single thing we do. But on a very practical level, astrology is literally just your date and the time you're born, whereas numerology takes into account the name you're born with, even if you never use it. With numerology, the name you're born with, as I said, even if you never use it, it represents what you bring with you from past lives. The only part that's, in quotes, live, if you like, with numerology is your mission or your song. It's you know, what you come in with, your experiences from past lives, and you learn a new rhythm, and you've got like a unique mission to complete, or song to complete, using what you've come in with, if you like, but applying it in a different way. So with numerology, we are bringing in past lives as well. It's what you bring with you and how you apply it this lifetime, basically. But nothing happens by chance, you know. It's
yeah. So 2020, wow, what a year.
Massive.
And so before we got to 2020, did you know, because of the numbers, did you know that it was going to be a year a little bit like it's been? Could you have seen that, predicted it?
It's the end of very, very powerful karmic years. We've had 1999 years with a 1 at the front of the year. And basically everyone on the planet during that time will have a 1 in their chart. And the 1 is all about fire. It's a masculine energy. Numerology is like the journey of the number 1, the fire, the passion, the unstoppable generator. Year 2000, we've got a 2 at the front of the year. We've got 3 zeros, which the 0 in numerology is all about potential. Everything comes from this 0. Everything comes from this potential. And we've got a 2. And in about 100 years' time, everyone on this planet will have a 2 in their chart. And the 2 is completely different to the 1. Whereas the 1 is dominated by fire, the 2 is dominated by water. Obviously, water can be still and clear and very calm. We can also have tsunamis with the 2. We have storms with the 2. And if you think of tarot, the 2 is going into the mystery. And 2, we have separation for the first time. We have duplicity for the first time. With a 1, completely single-minded, focused on one thing. Whereas with the 2, you've got duality. You're looking at things in completely different ways. Whereas the 1 is independent, self-achiever, pioneer, just focusing on one direction, one goal. The 2 is the diplomat, the facilitator, the coordinator, working in subtle ways, working behind the scenes. And, you know, in about 100 years' time, with everyone having a 2 in their chart, it's a completely different type of leader emerging. We have separation for the first time, in that people are off on their computers and in their bubbles, etc. The 2 is basically the birth of something. And 2020, you know, we've got a 22 in there, which is potentially the birth of a new world. You know, it's, you know, we have to long term have a new education system, because children won't be, people with all that 2 energy, they won't be so competitive. They're operating in a completely different way. We've got new leaders emerging. We've got it's all about new leaders potentially, or people thinking in completely different ways. The 20, you've got that incredible potential. So you've got 3 zeros with 2000. 2020, we've got 2 zeros. But it's like a trajectory for the next 1,000 years. Basically, it's about whole new structures coming in. 2000 to 2010, we're like learner drivers with this new energy. And 2011 to 20, it's us sort of running with the energy for the first time. So it's karmic numbers. And it's all about new structures coming in, especially actually Monday, the winter solstice. That's all about new structures coming in. I mean, the whole next 1,000 years is all about new structures coming in, but it's really key time now. I mean, the 20 So when you've got a 20, you've got that 0, you've got the whole of the 2 in that potential, if you like, 20 to 29. And the 20 is all about giving birth. The 21 is birth of consciousness. The 22, the master builder, it's potentially building with love. It's new structures, you know, and it goes, I mean, 29 is the birth of light. It's all about giving birth. And obviously giving birth is painful, it's quite violent, etc. But it's basically whole new structures coming in, whole new structures. So lots of people who've benefited from how things have always been will obviously be, you know, not so happy about that. And it basically, this whole new structure, it's all, the 20 is gestation, you know, we're stopped in our tracks. And potentially it's about what kind of world do we want? And there is a potential for, well, I mean, it's just about new structures coming in, the 22, the 4. So anyway, powerful energies going on.
And I think a lot of people, and hi to everyone that's watching this live with us. It's good to have you with us. I think a lot of people have been nodding their heads and going, goodness me, yes, new structures, because we've totally re-engineered the way that we work now, haven't we?
Well, it's not sustainable. It's absolutely not sustainable. I mean, the 2 is the feminine energy, and of course we've got Mother Earth, you know, but, you know, basically, whereas the 1 is just completely single-minded and oblivious to anything, the 2 is the peacemaker, the diplomat, will see 2 sides of a situation. It just operates in a completely different way to the 1. So on a basic level, corporations, etc., will become aware they've got a different type of customer. You know, a customer who's not just about one thing, you know, duplicity, you know, whereas the 1, it's all about you know, one way of doing everything. All of a sudden with the 2, we've got different ways of doing things. And of course, with social media, etc., everyone has a voice and people can get in groups very easily, more easily. Everyone, you know, has a voice is the main thing. And it's not just about one way of doing things. And, you know, I mean, the education system that we use came from the Industrial Revolution, when people in business wanted 9 to 5 people, you know, 9 to 5 started in the Industrial Revolution. So it was the captains of industry wanted people to work 9 to 5. They didn't want creative. They just wanted people to do what they're told and be able to be, you know, dominated by wanting money or whatever. And now we have to have people who are creative, you know, people who think outside the box, etc.
And certainly the creativity for me is like when we're facing some of the global challenges that we're facing, that for me is like fundamental to how are we going to create our journey moving forwards with the challenges that we're facing.
I mean, on a you know, hopefully we get to the point where we're about to destroy the planet, and then suddenly think, oh my goodness, this affects all of us, including my children or whatever. It's basically, hopefully, us sort of pulling together. I mean, if you look back in history, when they had the Black Death, that led to the Renaissance, the Italian Renaissance, etc. And Newton was when the apple fell on his head and he thought about gravity, etc., he was away from university because they had another plague or something going on. I'm not very good at history, but you can't, in terms of Buddhism, you can't have a negative without a positive. You know, we're being stopped in our tracks for a reason. So there's obviously negative, but there is, you know, positive in all that. We've got 2 lots of 20, 2 lots of gestation with 2020. So, and it's a 4, there's a lot of conflict with the 4 potentially, because it's about building the inner temple. It's not just about structures on the outside.
And if I understand correctly, 4 is also the number of science, is that correct?
It's about structure. It's
okay.
about how the world works. It's structure. It's structure.
So that's 2020. That's the year we've just had, and I'm sure, like I say, everyone's been nodding along and going, yes, yes, that. So looking forwards, 2021, what can we expect next year? What should we be preparing ourselves?
Well, 2020 adds up to 4. So the challenge with 2020 is about structure. It's about new structures coming in, and 2021 adds up to 5, and the 5 is the mind. If you visualize the 4, you know, it's literally the square shape, and with the 5 you're literally breaking out of that box, and it's about how you think. It's about using your 5 senses to find your truth, to live your truth. And if you add up the 20 and the 2 and the 1, you've got 23/5. You've potentially got great creativity born of that emotion, that sensitivity. But the 5 is ultimately about change. It's about embracing change. It's about, making those structures happen. It's mainly about thinking in whole new ways. And
That sounds amazing and sounds so perfect after the year we've just had.
Yeah, change. I mean, change is always guaranteed, but this is change and some. And 22 is interesting because 2022, sorry, is interesting because that's 6, and that's actually a 24/6. So that's also structures born, new structures coming in. And 6 of taking responsibility for those new structures. So it's all about new structures coming in, the old structures coming down and new structures coming in, and what sort of world do we want? We actually have a lot of people with a vested interest in us believing we have no choice, but we really do have a choice.
Yeah. So the next 10 years really are going to be governed by this.
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, this new structures coming in is probably the next 1,000 years. But these next 20 years, it's the trajectory for the next millennium. It's all about new structures coming in. All
And of
born
course,
of
in
emotion.
numerology, we also have our own personal years, don't we?
Oh yes, of course.
So for me, it's a year 9 this year, so it's really unsurprising that I've done a very philanthropic thing by creating a free resource online.
You're helping you. The 9 is all about service. It's all about teaching. It's helping humanity. It's everything evolves in cycles. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 cycles, and 5 and 8 is 9 is going back over all the previous cycles, extracting the wisdom, if you like. The 9 is let go, trust, big time. And then you've got new beginnings again.
Yes, so I'm back to 1 next year, and which I'm really excited about, and I'm excited about it. How do people work out what their personal year is?
Yeah, it's wonderful. You literally add the day you're born, your birthday number as we call it, and your month. You add those 2 numbers together. I'm having a blank here. And it's then bringing in the year. So you're literally adding a 4 to. So for 2020, you're adding a 4 to whatever your birthday number plus your month is.
So a baby that was born on the 1st of December 2020, their personal year would be?
Well, it's 13 plus 4, which is 17. So 17/8, seek of the truth, trying to get to the bottom of things. The 8 is a massive reevaluation. Perhaps if I do a recap. So you add the day you're born and the month, and then you literally, for 2020, you'll add a 4 to that. And for 2021, you'll add a 5. So if you've got a 1 personal year, that's the ideal time to start something. The 2 personal year is gestation. It's going into the quiet, looking at both sides of a situation, weighing things up. The 3 is all about creativity. The 4 is about building structures or changing structures, bringing in new structures. The 4 is all about structure. The 5 is all about change. The 6 is about taking responsibility. It's about the home. It's about the home really, and a harmonious home ideally. And the 7 is trusting that inner voice, following that inner voice. We call the 7 the magician. It's got the 3 and the 4 in it. The 8 is a massive reevaluation. You go deep into spirit, going into it. Yeah, massive reevaluation. And then the 9 is let go, trust, so that you can start again with the 1. I mean, that 1 to 9 is everything we do. You wake up in the morning. The 1 is the will to do something, and then your 2, you'll weigh it up. What shall I do? The 3, I've got an idea, I'll do this. The 4, you actually physically go and do that. And the 5, the mind comes in. The 6 takes responsibility for that. The 7 analyzes that. The 8 reevaluates that. The 9 let go, trust, and you move on to the next thing. It's this 1 to 9 is continuous.
And what I loved about when I got my numbers then, what I loved about that was it explained so much about me. Things that I thought were faults that I had, or just areas of my life where it was almost like having a psychometric analysis done on myself. And I had it done for my partner as well at the same time. And it was like, oh, I get it. I get now why we clash so much. And actually, I found it brought a lot of peace because it brought a lot of insight into who I was, how I operate, what my strengths are, and then seeing that, you know, the other person didn't need to change. They were just being themselves, and they were perfect. And we're not always the perfect match for each other, you know, and that's okay. What's your experience with numerology? What sort of impacts do people get from it?
Oh, for me personally, I mean, I'm a twin, and numerology never, well, astrology could never explain to me why my twin sister was so, I thought, so different to me. So obviously with the numerology, I could see, you know, why we were so different. Because obviously with numerology, you're taking into account the name. And also with my children, my son very kindly let me help him sort out the date for his wedding and things like that, which I'm grateful for. You know, it's about not taking things, you know, you get to see the certain cycles that are going on and how you fit in the bigger scheme of things, if you like. Nothing ever happens by chance, ever. And you know, it's understanding why certain people are in your world, why certain things are a certain way. There's a wonderful expression, everything is perfect, but there's a lot of work to do. Everything is as it should be, but we try and make things as we think they should be. But you have an opportunity with numerology to connect with a bigger picture, and also to understand everything is in a state of flux. Nothing is forever, you know, everything is constantly changing. So if you are going through a difficult time, you know, it helps to get past the why me, you know, you see something much bigger going on that we're all a part of.
And when we're going through something difficult, it can feel like it's never going to end. But you're right, you know, and actually even coming to the end of this year, I feel like we're beginning to summarize, and people are beginning to like, whew, just relax a bit, and we've got a little gap obviously before we go into next year. We've got the Christmas holidays and time to just chill out and get ready for the energy of next year, because is a new year a big thing for a numerologist? Like when we take over into the next,
well, it's a whole new cycle, new cycle. You know, we're getting into the 20s now, and as I said, it's the birth of something. You know, as I said, 21 is birth of consciousness. 22, the big projects really start kicking in. 23, I always think of the letter W, which is 23. Got the ideas, but we might doubt ourselves. And 24, it's about the new structures coming in. 25, you know, very much the higher mind coming in. The 28, you know, sorry, the 26, that's law of karma. That's really powerful. The 27, wisdom from feelings and emotions. 28, courage to, you know, who dares wins sort of thing. Massive reevaluation. 29, birth of light. It's all the 20s. It's all about birth. It's all about a whole new structure coming in. So it is an exciting time to be on this planet, really.
Yeah, we said to people, if they had any questions, you were very happy to take any questions.
Oh, wonderful. Yes.
So if anyone's watching with us live today that's got any questions, just pop them in the chat box as you're watching, and I'll post them to Jane. And whilst people are doing that and thinking of any questions they might want to ask, you actually did the numbers for my horse, dainty, didn't you?
Oh yes, you've got good memory.
Yeah, no, I think I found the paper the other day, and I found that so useful, because it just it helped give me sort of some clarity about why and how the way she is, and I think we wanted to change her name, and how her name was sort of, I thought her name was perfect for her. It really well. And you said you helped your son pick the numbers for his wedding.
Well, the wedding for the date of his wedding, which was nice.
So tell me a little bit about the process behind that. When you're picking a date for a wedding, what sort of things are you looking for?
No, it's just obviously you're looking at the numbers for my son and his wife or fiance then, and it's all about. I mean, obviously it's within a time frame as well. They wanted it in a certain month. And it's basically finding energies that are compatible for everyone concerned. It's just you get a feel for numbers, and it's the connection, because it's obviously quite a key date, a marriage date. And obviously you change your name. Well, a lot of people change their names when they get married as well, and that has a big impact, or can have. So, and it was got all their numbers as well. So
when you get your chart read, if you've changed your name, either, well, for any circumstances, you still get your birth name.
It's always your birth name. Yeah, I mean, I do. A lot of people do come to me about wanting to change their names, and changing your name can have a big impact. To be honest, it can be about avoiding certain issues, but it's always your name at birth, even if you never use that. It's always, that's your birth energies, that crossing time and space. Yeah, your birth. So it's the name on your birth certificate, even if you never use it. And changing your name can add dimensions to that.
Interesting, because I know you've done a couple of TV appearances, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I was on this morning, yeah, and I've been on Daybreak, and I've been on Sky News and stuff. Yeah, it was great. On this morning, I was talking about Meghan and Harry, and I was also I did mention that Holly had the same mission as Meghan, etc. And I was talking about, because they're all old souls, and I was talking about Philip. Yeah, I mentioned Philip was very unsettled, wanting security, stability, needing freedom, and so anyway, he made an announcement after that, etc. But no, it's a great privilege to talk about people's numbers. You know, as I said, nothing happens by chance.
So just to wrap up today's interview, what advice would you give people moving forwards with regards to numerology, or everything you've learned from this year, and also your Buddhist practice and your healing practice? What advice would you give to people going into this Christmas period and next year?
Every moment you have a choice in how you respond. There are a lot of people want us to believe we've got no choice, but we really do have a choice. And however you do it, I always think it's a good idea to step away from the drama and listen to your inner voice and try to put yourself in the driving seat as much as possible. You know, we've been told you have to look a certain way, and you know, with Zoom, etc., and not having to go into the office, we possibly don't have to wear our suits anymore. We can relax a bit more, you know. So basically, just try to stay true to yourself as much as possible. It's about being happy at the end of the day.
Tanya has a question for you. She said, do you have any numerology insights about Trump going and Biden moving into the White House next month?
I mean, Donald Trump, it's interesting, his numbers, I won't say about his numbers too much, but it's interesting because obviously a lot of people have very strong opinions about Donald Trump. And the key thing with Trump is he's woken us all up. You know, there was the massive, you know, demonstrations, etc. He's woken us all up, which is something that can be a good thing. You know, what sort of world do we want? Who do we want representing us? And he's given people voices, you know, especially the marches, etc. A massive wake up, which I think can be very positive. Very terrible, you know, he did some terrible things with, especially with regard to the environment, etc. But long term, hopefully that will be seen as a massive wake up call for the planet. You know, what type of world do we want?
And as you said, there's no, you know, there's two sides to the coin.
Yeah, exactly.
And any thoughts on Biden?
I mean, his energy is very different. I mean, they've both got, believe it or not, both got quite a lot of 11 energies. And obviously the B at the front is, you know, the sensitive helper, whereas the D is the 4. And his mission was he was dominated by 4s, which is obviously, there can be quite a lot of conflict with the 4. Yeah, Biden is a very different energy, and it's very much, has a completely different approach. I mean, Donald was always a builder, wasn't he? He was always you know, an industrialist. He was always he's trying to run it like a corporation, whereas Biden has been in the political world for a lot longer. Yeah, he's got a completely different way of doing things. But Trump has woken us up.
And I think that demonstrates perfectly the need to let go of our judgments. You know, it's only us that suffers when we start to judge things as good or bad. Because there's, in the bigger picture, there's space for everything, and everything has a purpose.
I mean, I'm not condoning what Trump's done. I'm just, you know, people waking up, and people, you know, once you wake up, that's it. You know, once you know a truth, you can't unknow it. You know, and it's important. People, you know, there's a lot of people, as I said, with a vested interest in us believing we've got no choice, and we really do have a choice. And you know, with Trump, people were wanting to, you know, their voices to be heard, and they a lot of cases their voices were heard. Yeah,
and like you say, it shook things up a lot. It's woken people up to perhaps the importance of realizing what is important to them.
Yeah. And what sort of world we want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we're out of time for now, Jane, but thank you so much for joining us.
That's a great privilege. Thank you very much for your time.
And I hope people have enjoyed learning about why 2020 was the way it was, and feel a little more prepared for 2021. And if anyone's got any questions, then I will signpost Jane to go back and answer any questions that you've had. So yeah, stay on the line. We'll have a little chat, Jane.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everyone else, this is the last Peace Project interview of the year. So it's been a real privilege to speak to Jane. So thank you all.